Hey everyone, and welcome back to Magic Game World. You know, there's a certain magic to Age of Empires, isn't there? It's more than just a game, it's that feeling, that slow, satisfying build from a handful of villagers in a single town center into a sprawling, fortified city. It's the thrill of advancing to the next age, unlocking powerful new units, and the sheer epic scale of seeing hundreds of soldiers clash on the battlefield. It's a formula that for decades has been pretty much unbeatable. But if you're like me, you're always on the hunt for that next fix. So today, we're going on a deep dive. I've got a list of 20 games that I think every Age of Empires fan needs to know about. And we're going to start with the exciting part, the future. First, we'll look at the most anticipated upcoming games that you need to get on your wish list. After that, we'll jump back to the present and cover a huge list of incredible games that are already released and waiting for you to play. So get comfortable, because we've got a lot to talk about. Let's start by looking ahead. Let's kick things off by looking at a game that is, without a doubt, one of the most ambitious projects in the entire strategy genre. We're talking about Empire Eternal. Now, full disclosure, this is a long-term project. We're likely looking at 2027 or even later for a full release. But what we've seen and what is being promised is nothing short of the dream that many of us have had since the golden age of RTS. This is being built from the ground up as a true modern spiritual successor to the legendary Empire Earth. The goal here is absolutely colossal, to guide a civilization through the entirety of human history and then push beyond it into the far future. We're talking about a staggering 20 distinct ages, starting with crude stone tools and ending with universe-altering sci-fi technology. The Age of Empires DNA is the foundation here. You'll be base building, managing a complex economy, and making those critical age-up decisions. But the twist is the sheer, mind-boggling scale of it all. They're not just sticking to land battles. They are building a system for full-on land, sea, and air combat that evolves across all 20 of those eras. But what really gets me excited, the feature that could truly set this apart, is the promised detail in melee combat. They're talking about units that can physically throw ladders against castle walls and actually climb them in real time. Imagine orchestrating a massive siege where you can see your soldiers clambering over the battlements. They're talking about naval battles where your marines can actually jump onto the deck of an enemy ship and fight it out hand to hand. This is a level of cinematic detail we just don't see in large-scale RTS. It's a marathon of a development cycle, not a sprint, but if they can pull this off, it could be the ultimate historical RTS we've all been waiting for. This is the definition of a must-watch project. Now, from that colossal dream of the future to a game that takes the core of Age of Empires and reframes it on a massively multiplayer scale, let's talk about Anvil Empires. Imagine the fantasy of building your town, forging an army, and going to war, but instead of a 45-minute match, it's a weeks-long war. And instead of playing against one person, you're fighting alongside thousands of other real players. That is the unbelievable promise of Anvil Empires. This is a persistent world RTS where you and hundreds of other players will build towns together, establish complex supply lines for food and weapons, and then march to war in battles that can feature up to 1,000 players on a single screen. This isn't just a game, it's an attempt to simulate an actual medieval war where logistics and cooperation are just as important as battlefield tactics. If this game delivers on even half of its promises, it will be absolutely revolutionary. Next up, let's go somewhere strategy games almost never go: 16th century Brazil. This is the upcoming Guanabara Warriors. This game is set during the founding of Rio de Janeiro and focuses on the conflict between indigenous Brazilian tribes and European colonial powers. You'll feel right at home with the classic RTS loop of managing resources, building strongholds, and tactical warfare. But what makes this so special is its completely fresh and fascinating historical setting. You'll command armies of fearless indigenous Brazilian warriors with unique skills and weapons in a part of history that is tragically underexplored in gaming. For any history buffs out there who are craving something truly new and different, this is a huge one to watch. Finally, for our look at the future, we have a new contender in the fantasy RTS space, Battles of Chaos. This one looks really interesting because it's a hybrid, blending large-scale real-time strategy with deep tactical combat. The connection to what we love is clear with its medieval fantasy setting and classic factions like humans, orcs, and dwarves. But the twist is its heavy focus on squad-based tactics in massive battles featuring over 1,000 fighters. This isn't a game about just amassing a blob of units and right-clicking the enemy. It's about commanding your squads effectively, using formations and abilities to win the day. With minor factions like elves and lizardmen, and even non-playable dragons and giants, this looks like a fantastic game for players who love the epic battles of AoE, but crave more tactical depth. Okay, so the future is looking absolutely stacked. There's some incredible ideas and ambitious projects on the way. But what if you want to play something right now? What if you're itching to build an empire this weekend? Well, let's dive into the amazing games that are already out and waiting for you to play.
And where better to start than with a game that feels both brand new and like a treasured memory come to life. Let's talk about the recently released Age of Mythology, Retold. This is a full, gorgeous remake of the beloved fantasy-fueled cousin to Age of Empires. For years, fans have been saying this is the best game in the entire family, and it's easy to see why. It takes that rock-solid RTS foundation we all love, the base building, the economy, the satisfying age-ups, and injects it with a massive dose of mythological mayhem. It's one thing to build a trebuchet, it's another thing entirely to build a temple and summon a colossus that can smash through a fortress wall. You choose a major god like Zeus, Ra, or Odin, and that choice fundamentally changes how you play. And then there are the god powers. These aren't just little spells, they are tide-turning events. Calling down a meteor storm to obliterate an enemy army, or turning a lake into poison, is a spectacle that never gets old. It's creative, spectacular, and just pure, unadulterated fun. If you ever wished AoE had more flair and fantasy, this is your game. Now for the absolute legends. First, Rise of Nations Extended Edition. This is required playing, I mean it. Co-designed by a lead on AoE 2, it's a masterpiece of fast-paced, territory-focused strategy. It takes the historical span of AoE and condenses it into a thrilling hour-long match. It smartly streamlines things. You don't build granaries, you build a university and assign scholars to generate knowledge. The real genius, though, is the national borders. Building cities and forts expands your territory, and enemies take attrition damage inside your land. This creates a constant tug-of-war for map control that's so much more dynamic than just building walls. It's aggressive, it's strategic, and its Conquer the World campaign, a mix of risk-style map movement and real-time battles, is one of the greatest single-player experiences in all of strategy history. Period. Of course, we have to talk about the original mad lad of the genre, Empire Earth. While Age of Empires was focused and refined, Empire Earth was gloriously ambitious and chaotic. It took the concept of aging up and just ran with it, all the way into the far future. It was the only game where you could have spear-wielding cavemen fighting alongside World War I biplanes while a giant cybernetic robot stomps through the middle of the battle. The scale was just nuts. It had 14 different epochs, and the jump between them was always exciting. Was it perfectly balanced? Of course not. But it was an absolute blast, a truly epic sandbox of history that let you live out the most absurd what-if scenarios imaginable. And you can't talk Legends without talking about Warcraft III Reforged. The core game underneath is one of the most influential of all time. It took the base building of its predecessors and fused it with deep RPG mechanics. Its genius was the hero unit. These powerful characters level up, find items, and have game-changing abilities that you build your entire strategy around. An archmage with maxed out Blizzard could hold off an army by himself. This focus on heroes, combined with 4 incredibly distinct factions that felt nothing alike, made every match a unique puzzle. The campaign is one of the best stories ever told in an RTS, and the game's custom map scene literally gave birth to the entire MOBA genre with Dota. It's a cornerstone of PC gaming. Now for something fresh out of the oven, currently in early access. This is the Scouring. On the surface, it's a classic fantasy RTS that will feel very familiar. Humans versus orcs, building bases, gathering resources, but its unique twist is the dual modes of play. You can play it as a traditional, high actions per minute RTS, managing everything yourself, or you can jump into its new action RPG strategy mode, which is fascinating. In this mode, you control a single powerful hero down on the battlefield, slinging spells and hacking through enemies like in Diablo, while a friendly AI manages your base building and army production for you. This is a brilliant idea for people who love the idea of commanding an army, but get stressed out by the intense micromanagement of a typical RTS. It lets you focus on the fun part, the combat. As a solo developer's passion project, it's a really cool hybrid that's definitely worth checking out. Are you a turtle player? Be honest. Do you love nothing more than building walls, then another layer of walls, putting towers on them, and a moat in front? If so, then Stronghold Definitive Edition is, and always will be, the king of castle simulation. This game lives and breathes castle life. It's not just a military game, it's a medieval management sim. You have to keep your peasants happy with different food types, fair tax rates, and a steady supply of ale. An unhappy populace will leave, crippling your economy. The real joy is designing the perfect fortress with kill boxes, boiling oil, and layers of defense, and then watching a massive enemy army break against your walls like waves against a cliff. It's deeply satisfying, and if you love the defensive side of AoE, this is your game. Have you ever built a 200 pop army in Age of Empires and thought, this isn't enough? If you crave truly massive, screen-filling armies, then Cossacks III is your game. This game takes the classic historical RTS formula and just inflates the numbers to an insane degree. We're talking about armies numbering in the thousands. Your screen will be filled with massive blocks of pikemen and musketeers. The spectacle of watching these huge formations fire a volley in unison, sending a ripple of smoke and death across the battlefield, is something you just don't get anywhere else. It's a game of epic scale where logistics and feeding your massive army becomes a fascinating challenge in their own right. Now, for a more modern and unique indie experience, there's Northgard. You lead a Viking clan in a game that feels like a strategic board game come to life. You don't just expand wherever you want. You have to colonize specific tiles on the map, and each tile can only support a few buildings. This creates incredibly tight strategic decisions. The real enemy, though, is often the environment itself. You're constantly fighting against harsh winters that drain your food and wood, blizzards that freeze your armies, and random events like earthquakes or plagues of rats. It's less about building a giant empire and more about surviving and thriving in a hostile world. It's tight, challenging, and brilliant. For another indie with a great twist, there's Eyes of War. It's a classic medieval RTS, but at any moment you can possess any soldier and fight from a third-person perspective. It's a really cool concept that completely changes how you view your battles. One moment you're the all-seeing general ordering a cavalry charge, and the next you're the knight at the tip of the spear, experiencing the chaos of the charge firsthand. It lets you be both the strategist and the hero on the front lines. If you live for the combat and micromanagement, check out Company of Heroes 3. It's a squad-based World War II RTS that trades large-scale base building for intense cover-based tactics. It's a game that forces you to think about every street corner and every piece of cover. You're not just telling units where to go, you're telling them which side of a wall to hide behind. Using smoke to cover an advance or flanking a machine gun nest is incredibly satisfying. It's gritty, tactical, and a must-play for the battlefield general who loves the nitty-gritty of combat.
For a polished sci-fi spin, Halo Wars 2 is fantastic. It brilliantly streamlines the genre for both PC and console without dumbing it down, letting you command the iconic Halo armies in fast-paced, action-packed battles. The controls are slick, the visuals are great, and building up a fleet of Warthogs and Scorpion tanks to roll across the map is just as satisfying as a night rush in AoE. It's pure, explosive fun, and proves that deep strategy can be accessible and amazing on a controller. For the economic masterminds out there, Anno 1800 is heaven on earth. It's a deep and complex city builder focused on creating intricate production chains during the Industrial Revolution. The gameplay loop is intoxicating. You'll say, I just need to set up a schnapps distillery, and 4 hours later you've colonized a new island, set up 3 intercontinental trade routes, and are trying to figure out how to produce enough steel beams for your new World's Fair. It's a beautiful, relaxing, and dangerously addictive logistics puzzle, where the economy is the main character. And if the idea of deep, complex economies excites you, but you wish it was a little more peaceful, well, the original creator of the Settlers has just released a game for you. It's called Pioneers of Pagonia. This game is a pure, combat-free city builder all about exploration, discovery, and building. The entire challenge is economic and logistical. You'll watch with satisfaction as your little carriers transport goods along the roads you've built, turning raw materials into complex products. It's a charming and wonderfully relaxing experience for when you just want to build something beautiful without worrying about an enemy army knocking on your door. If you love desperate defensive stands, Starship Troopers Terran Command is a whole game of that feeling. You command infantry against endless alien bugs, using choke points and kill zones to survive against overwhelming odds. It perfectly captures the feel of the movie. You'll set up heavy machine gun nests, place rocket troopers to take out armored bugs, and use your riflemen to hold the line. It's an incredible tactical challenge that's all about superior positioning and firepower against a literal tide of enemies.
And if you want that survival idea with a dose of pure terror, play They Are Billions. It's a steampunk RTS where a single zombie getting past your defenses can cause a chain reaction that dooms your entire colony in seconds. The tension is unlike anything else. The game is quiet for long stretches as you build and expand, but then you hear the shriek that signals a horde is coming, and it's pure panic. Building the perfect defense and surviving the final screen-filling wave is one of the most triumphant feelings in all of gaming. It is brutal, punishing, and amazing. And finally, a game that feels like classic AoE but is completely free, 0AD. This open-source project is a fan-made labor of love that is shockingly good. It's a beautiful blend of AoE 1 and 2, focused on the ancient world, with tons of historical detail packed into its many unique civilizations. The quality is so high, it's hard to believe it's a free game made by a passionate community. There is absolutely no reason not to try it.
And breathe. What an incredible time to be a strategy fan. From the amazing games on the horizon to the classics and modern gems we can play right now, there is so much out there carrying the torch that Age of Empires first lit. I truly hope you found something on this list that got you excited. But now I have to turn it over to you. I really want to know, which of those upcoming games are you most hyped for? Is it the unbelievable scale of Empire Eternal, the massive battles of Anvil Empires, or the unique history of Guanabara Warriors? Let's get a huge conversation going in the comments. I read them all, and I love getting new recommendations from you guys. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please consider hitting that like button. It's a small click for you, but it makes a huge difference for the channel. And of course, if you want to join our community and see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe to Magic Game World and ring that notification bell. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Now go build an empire. I'll see you in the next one.